First question, because a lot of people in my office are also traveling to Kerala for Christmas, they are going to Karnataka for Christmas, so on and so forth, also traveling abroad. First question that they said, which I think the first question which I was also thinking about, do we have to live with this forever, Rajiv?
Good question, Sudha. Yes, if you look at the experience of the past 4 years, it appears that we have a new addition to the cyclical virus family. There are a bunch of viruses that cause what we call cyclical diseases. They come and go with intervals of several months in between. COVID seems to have acquired that pattern. It's not the same interval everywhere. India, we've had a good 7 months with very little COVID. If you look back, the last mini surge, if you will, was in April. It did not overwhelm the hospitals. But now, over the past few weeks, we are seeing an uptick in cases. In fact, we had reported a slight uptick from Cochin earlier this month, alerting that it is the beginning of the next wave. Now, this JN.1 is an all-new variant. It is not your usual variant that we keep hearing in the news. It is not. It is markedly different from anything that the world has seen before. But fortunately, the limited information we have so far suggests that the clinical presentation is the same as generic Omicron. Omicron, as most of our viewers know, is one of the milder versions of COVID virus that started its journey perhaps from South Africa in November of 2021. So we are in 2024, almost in 2024 now. It is still the Omicron season, but JN.1 is a vastly different version. So we don't really have a good feel for which way it's going to go. Looking at worldwide trends, we can expect a rise in cases, but in India, as you know, testing of anyone who comes with fever and body ache and a sore throat, people are not going to be wanting to be tested for COVID at this stage in the pandemic. So testing is actually quite low. It's restricted to certain academic centers, and now with the government advisory, yes, they've ramped it up. But the bottom line is the numbers we see on the screens or in the news reports will not reflect what is happening in the community. So you asked if, are we going to live this forever? Are we going to have to live with this forever? I would say, well, perhaps it's increasingly likely that we will have periodic surges like this. We had said this even during earlier surges. So this is what the future seems to look like. It's continuously evolving, finding ways to evade our immune response. We did a good initial vaccination campaign, which gave people some immune memory when there was nothing at all. But from there onwards, we've had multiple cycles of infection with a changed version of the virus.
So,
The virus
Dr.
is so
Jaydevan,
changed now that
no,
the vaccines we
now
use
you know the second
are based on
question
the
is
original version.
the second question is that what do we know about this subvariant? Because every variant, the one thing one hears is that not much is known about this, except for how does it present itself. Pretty much like influenza, you know, the viral fever that we all get. There is a runny nose, there is a headache, there is, you know, kind of your sinuses hurt and stuff like that. Is there any other thing that we can possibly, you know, you're right, the testing has also gone down. A lot of politicians have come on air and said, oh, COVID will never happen, although you say no, never say never ever, because it may just happen. But is there any distinctive feature of this variant like Omicron, like, you know, okay, how do I put it? Are we supposed to be scared of this? Is it a scary one?
Yeah, being afraid is a subjective term. It is really not a matter of science. But in my opinion, being scared occurs when we do not know the facts, when we are not clear, we don't know the outcomes. So now at least we know from past 4 years, the numbers, the figures, the percentages, the mortality rates. We know a couple of facts for sure. One, the risk of the COVID virus increases with age, and while the elderly are in fact heroes who have survived many setbacks to life and have got there, this is one additional threat that comes in their way, and they have to remain careful not to get the infection. That's one. Second is people who are not necessarily older, but who have, unfortunately, chronic conditions of assorted nature, and they can destabilize and end up in the hospital and have bad outcomes sometimes. So those are individuals who should be very careful, and that's really what we saw the government recommendations for wearing masks among the elderly in Karnataka as I was watching
Yes.
the news before it came on. So that's a good move. At least it gives a message that at least during a surge, be a little careful. So you don't want to invite this virus home. I wouldn't be scared of it in that sense, not so much as we did in 2020 when there was carnage around the world, and in 2021. It is not the same severity anymore, but we know of isolated instances where a whole family is affected, but only the older person had a bad outcome. So we must always respect that part of the virus. And use discretion. I would use the word discretion rather than being scared when such surges are going on. Typically, surges in India or elsewhere, they last 2 months, 3 months top. So we just have to buckle up a little bit for the next 2 or 3 months. Be a little careful. Stop that. Maybe not attend a social gathering if you don't have to. Stay home if you're feeling feverish, so you don't spread any virus around, COVID, influenza, or otherwise. Don't visit hospitals for social purposes. Back in Kerala, we have this culture of large
Rajiv,
numbers
just
of
hold
people
your
visiting
thought there. I have to take a break. I'm going to come back to you, ladies and gentlemen. Time for a break, but don't miss this show. I'm coming back in a bit because we have Dr. Rajiv Jaydevan with us discussing the new variant of COVID.
जब हम करेंगे तो पता लग ही जाएगा सलमान खान का करेंगे मारेंगे यहीं जोधपुर में मारेंगे तो पता लग जाएगा
This is someone who is sitting inside our jails and is still very obviously and openly running and possibly the largest organized criminal operation in the country.
Student organization of Punjab University में सोपू का acting president type भी रहा है.
He was a troublemaker, getting into fights with people, not coming to the class.
As on date, it appears that Lawrence gang is the most important, the prominent gang. Gangs here in Punjab, they are intimidated.
Today, he's India's most dangerous gangster, and India's prisons are apparently no bar to how Bishnoi runs India's largest criminal empire.
News is now content. Just stream it. Download the world's first news OTT, News9 Plus, ahead of the curve.
All right, I'm back and I'm discussing about the new subvariant, and of course, Kerala is on high alert and so is Karnataka. I'm talking to Dr. Rajiv Jaydevan. Doctor, I want to know, in this context of this subvariant and overall narrative, one keeps hearing the word Pirola. Is it Pirola or Pirola? I don't know how you pronounce it. But why is it so important? Why does this word keep coming up when you do searches? What is with this?
There are different versions of the virus ever since the onset of the pandemic. And the technical terms deal with alphabets and numbers, and people are not comfortable with alphabets and numbers, it seems. So many amateurs have come up with Greek names, mythical names, the ones that you mentioned. So I don't use those. Because I stick with pure science. I don't have a problem with using it, but I simply don't. As a matter of principle, I simply don't. I just stick with the official classification, and I think JN.1 is not so hard to pronounce. So I would stick with JN.1, and you saw how popular these names became, and that's really why they show up on your search engines. So that's one of the reasons why people name these variants, because they become a little bit more relatable, if you will.